Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing all of the books that I want to read in this upcoming fall. Obviously, I already own some of them. I'm still trying to get through my physical TBR. That's still a big goal for me, but I'm also excited for some new releases and just some books that I've been wanting to get around to in the fall. So I'm going to start with the new releases and books that I want to buy because there's not as many of those as there are as my physical TBR. So the first book I want to talk about is Soul Searching by Lila Sage. This is the first book in her new series. I think the series is called Sweetwater Peak, and this is actually a small town spooky romance, which I am so excited for. I believe it's supposed to come out on September 30th, which is like a month away. And in this book, our FMC is moving back to her hometown because she has lost her job and has no money. And then there's also like something going on with her parents' antique shop, so she like is using that as the excuse to move home. But she can also see ghosts and like talk to ghosts. And I guess lately these ghosts haven't been popping up and like interacting with her. So something is definitely going on, and I'm definitely like intrigued to see how Lila Sage is gonna tie the romance into all of that. So I really want to get this one whenever it is released because that just sounds so intriguing to me. And I've also never read a spooky romance, so I'm kind of excited to see like what it's like. Then another new release that I really want is Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I believe this is Stephanie Garber's first adult fantasy, and I am so excited for this one. The plot for this book sounds so interesting and so unique. Basically, our FMC is taking this like folklore class, and she kind of like takes it as if it's all real, and she ends up finding this local legend who tells her that she's gonna die by like midnight the next day or something if she doesn't find this ancient relic. So that just sounds super interesting. Sounds like a really fun journey, and I'm super excited to see like Stephanie Gerber's adult fantasy. Like, I've only read her YA fantasy. I think that's the only thing she's done, and I absolutely loved it. I love Stephanie Garber's writing. It is so magical and so whimsical to the point where it really wraps you up and like puts you into the story. So I am definitely excited for this one. And this one comes out on October 7th, which I am counting down the days for. And the last new release I want to talk about is Fake Skating by Lynn Painter. I believe this one also comes out on September 30th, the same as Soul Searching. And I am so excited for this one as well. I absolutely love Lynn Painter's writing. If I'm being honest, I definitely prefer her YA books to her adult romances. Her adult romances were just kind of cringy in my opinion, but I absolutely love her writing and her YA romances, and this upcoming book is going to be a YA romance. So also a hockey romance. And I think it's also second chance. So I don't know. I just know that whatever Lynn Painter writes, I am going to love. So definitely can't wait to read this one as well. And then there's also a few books I don't own, but I would love to get around to this fall. The first one being Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I read Ninth House like a month ago, and I've honestly been dying to get back into the story and kind of finish the story off because in the second half, I believe they're going to go and try and find the guy that went missing in the first book, and that was like a big mystery throughout the whole first book. So I'm definitely like excited to see like what happens in Hellbent. I think the whole like idea of the story is like they're going to hell to try and find this guy and like they're trying to bring him back. I also love how immersive Leigh Bardugo's writing is, so I can't wait to jump back into it because she kind of just like puts you into the world with how immersive it is. Like, she really is detailed without making it boring. Oh, and I absolutely loved the characters and the drama and the overall mystery, but I also really loved how like immersive the storytelling was. Like, she wasn't just telling you the story, she was like making you feel it and live it. And like, I love when a book is so immersive that I have a full-blown movie going in my head, and I've honestly just wanted to jump back into Hellbent ever since. So I'm definitely excited for that one. Definitely sounds like an interesting read, and I can't wait to see how that plays out. These last two that I don't own, I actually don't really know anything about them. I've just seen a lot of people talk about them and a lot of people put them on their fall TBR. And the first one is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This one I am super excited for because I've heard nothing but good things, and the cover is just giving me fall vibes, to be honest. And I've seen a lot of people put this book on their fall TBR. And I actually really love Ashley Poston's writing and the way that she does her magical realism, the way that there's like no explanation for the magic and like the time slips and everything, it just happens. I really love the way that she does that, so really excited for that one. And then the last one that I don't own is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I have been wanting to read this book for so long. I do not know why I don't own it, but I have been wanting to read this book like forever. Like the vibes this book gives me is just, I just need to read this book so bad. I don't know what it's about, but the cover just is so stunning and it's pulling me in so much. And obviously, there's fairies. I love reading about fairies, so I don't know what it's about, but I really need to get around to reading it this fall. Now let's talk about the books that I do own that I want to get around to this fall. Those are so heavy. The first book I want to start with is the only lit fic I have, and I've been putting this book off because I know that this author makes me cry, and I just have not been in the mood to cry lately. Right? But the first book I have is The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. All I know about this book is that it's centered around the Great Depression in Texas of 1921. Definitely sounds like an interesting story. And Kristen Hanna just has such a beautiful way of telling stories like through families and everything. So definitely excited for this one. Also, the cover in general literally just gives me fall vibes. Like those are fall colors to me. So that's like the main reason I really picked this one out for the fall. And then I would also really love to get around to finishing the Mortal Instruments series. I'm currently on the third book, which is City of Glass. And I really enjoyed the second book in this series. I feel like we got a lot more like information and action and like a lot more happened. So I'm definitely excited to see like where the story picks up. I believe this one we are trying to finally save Clary's mother's life. So I'm definitely intrigued to see how that all plays out. But I'm hoping that it like picks up the pacing a little more and gets a little more interesting throughout the rest of the series. But I've also heard really good things about the Infernal Devices series, and the other day I picked up book 1 at the Goodwill. Like I said, I've heard really good things about this series, but you also have to read the Mortal Instrument series first. So I'm hoping to finish the Mortal Instrument series and then hopefully I can jump into the Infernal Devices series. I don't really know what this one's about. I think we're still following Shadowhunters, but I don't know if it's like same group of people or anything. I just really want to see like this series compared to the Mortal Instruments series. So hopefully I can finish the Mortal Instruments series and then jump into the Infernal Devices series as well. This next read, I have been putting this book off for so long, but I really want to finish it so that I can get to the next book in this series, and that is The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. I've been putting this book off for so long for a couple of reasons. The first one being that it's been so long since I read The Hunger Games that I don't really know if I could just jump into the next book like that, or if I need to do like some sort of recap, maybe watch the movies or something. Also, the second reason, and the most important reason, is I don't feel like I'm ready to feel any sympathy for President Snow, which may sound stupid, but like I hated him growing up. Like whenever I thought about like characters I hated the most, like President Snow always came to my mind. And for that reason, I have been putting this book off because I am not ready to be in his perspective and feel sympathy for this man. But I really do want to get to Haymitch's story. Haymitch was always one of my favorite characters in The Hunger Games. So I definitely want to read his story and like his experience with winning the Hunger Games. So I really just need to like push through this one and then I can read that one. I also kind of want to watch the movie for this. Maybe I'll just watch the movie. This next book I saw Heather McLeary read it, I think last year or the year before, and I've really wanted to pick it up ever since. And that is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. That title alone is just like what sold me. I have heard really good things about this book, and the premise of this book just sounds so cool. It's basically about this group of women who have a book club, and they let this guy who just moved into the neighborhood into their book club, but the closer they get to him, like the closer they realize that something is off. And then shortly after he moved into the neighborhood, there's like kids who are going missing across town or whatever. So they like take it upon themselves to kind of investigate him and like figure out what's actually going on. And that just sounds so interesting. I honestly just can't wait to see like how this group of women takes down vampires. Like that just sounds so funny and so interesting to read about. So definitely want to get around to this one as soon as possible. And then sticking with that horror theme, I have Bag of Bones by Stephen King. This is another one that I don't know too much about. All I know is that he is like grieving his wife that he lost a few years ago. But the thing that really sold me on this book, I've had this book on my TBR for years, by the way. But the main reason I picked it up was because the back says a haunted love story. And really, what more could I ask for? Also, it's one of those books on my TBR that if I don't get to it this year, I do want to get rid of it. So hopefully I can force myself to sit down and read a Stephen King book. I just am scared because they're so long and I feel like I'm going to get bored halfway through. I've also never read Stephen King though, so I really don't know and feel like I can't really speak on his writing or anything. I just need to try and get around to that book this year. Otherwise, it's gotta go. I have The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and I wouldn't say it was a favorite, but I definitely like enjoyed the writing, and I feel like there was little things along the way that kept me interested enough to want to keep reading. In this book, we are going to be following a 12-year-old girl who is investigating the murder of her brother that was left unsolved and kind of like forgotten about, but she takes it upon herself to investigate the murder herself. I don't know, that just sounds super interesting. A 12-year-old investigating her brother's death. I guess her brother was found like hanging outside of her parents' yard, and nobody ever had any answers for the family. So definitely excited to see like what actually went down and how the story is told. The only thing I'm really worried about when it comes to this book is that the pacing is going to be slower than I would like it to be, especially with it being like kind of like a crime horror mystery kind of book. I obviously don't read a lot of crime mystery books. I read a lot of romance and fantasy, so I'm just a little scared that this one's going to have a hard time keeping my attention. So my expectations aren't that high, but I definitely still want to give it a try. Okay, this next book, I'm not gonna lie, the main reason I bought this one was based on how much I really liked the cover, and that was The Stars Are Dying. This is the first book of the Nightfall series. I don't know how many books are in the series. I don't even really know what the series is about. All I know is that there's this girl and she's trying to escape, and there's trials, there's vampires, there's magic, and I also think there's a little bit of like a forbidden romance in this book. So really everything that kind of feels right up my alley. The only thing is that it has a 3.4 rating on Goodreads, and I don't feel like that's the best. So I'm gonna try my best to not let that affect how I feel about this book and the way that I read this book. But real quick, I want to show you the cover of the book without the dust jacket on because it is freaking stunning. Like, isn't that gorgeous? That is what I want with every romantasy book I read. That level of detailing and everything is just chef's kiss. Okay, next I have Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is the first book of the Legendborn cycle series, and I believe this is a YA fantasy with like a mix of dark academia and fantasy. And what I know about this book is that our main character's mother has died, and so she goes off to this residential program for high schoolers, and on her very first night at this like place, she witnesses a magical attack, and she soon realizes that she actually has magic of her own, and her mother's death had a lot more to it than what she can remember or what she was told. So she starts like investigating this secret society and trying to figure out the truth with her mother's death, but I think it's going to turn into something bigger than that. So definitely excited to check this one out. The last book I want to talk about for my fall TBR is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is also a YA fantasy, but I think it's more like a dystopian high fantasy type of book. And in this book, we have a slave turned spy situation. Whenever her brother is arrested, she risks her life to save him by being a spy for this rebel group. And while she's being a spy, I think she ends up meeting a soldier, and the soldier kind of wants out of like the tyranny of the kingdom and everything. I also think this is told in like a brutal Roman Empire type of setting. So I'm kind of like picturing Assassin's Creed, if I'm being honest, but I don't know if that's the vibe. That's kind of just what I'm picturing. But I think there's also a little bit of romance between the soldier and Leia, who's our main character. Definitely sounds like a little forbidden romance. So definitely sounds really interesting, and I've also heard really good things about the series. I did read Air by Sabaa Tahir, and it just wasn't my favorite read. I felt like I got bored a lot, and I feel like I had a really hard time keeping up with what was going on. I feel like it was kind of just like all over the place. So I'm really hoping for like a better flow in this one. Like I said, I've heard really good things about it, and the plot in general just sounds really interesting to me. So I do kind of have high expectations for this book and for the series. So hopefully it's good. But that brings us to the end of all of the books that I have on my radar for my fall TBR. I am still very open to adding books to this TBR. Like, if I missed any fall themed books or like thriller fantasies that you think I would enjoy, please comment below any of your recommendations, any of the books that you're reading this fall, or if you've read any of the books I plan on reading this fall. I would love to hear your insight and your thoughts on some of these books. So, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, like all of that YouTube stuff, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.